Hey everyone, Chloe here, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, welcome. So today's video is all about hotepery and broke man speak, and aka the take the system down syndrome, and how many low value men have been able to use the oppression Olympics and ambulance chasing to seduce and guilt and shame black women into accepting less for themselves and less, often meaning nothing. So let's start by defining a hotep. A hotep is essentially an ashy man who lacks a fundamental understanding of capitalism, who associates himself and his consciousness and his wokeness with ashy opinions of marginalization and oppression mixed with hot air and talking in circles, and misogyny and dysfunction that is based on never having a solution or a plan or the grit or the elbow grease that it takes to build a true rock solid foundation. And hotepery is basically a man or a woman who peddles themselves as woke and engages in ring around the rosy, black power fist, Wakanda forever rhetoric about toppling and taking the system down. Now, of course, leadership in activism and politics has its place. But with hoteps, there are super cliches that are associated with being woke, right? And that includes natural hair, and incense and oils and cowrie shells and the ankh and the dashiki and his hatred of pork and his eye rolling, weak in the knees, contradictive and irresistible lust and kryptonite love of snow bunnies, right? While at the same time, feeling entitled to the black woman's body and her paycheck. And hoteps are usually broke-teps. And broke-teps are basically hoteps and dusty talkers who have no money, and no money means struggle love. Broke-teps and hoteps are well versed at talking junk all day, but they never have a rock solid plan and they don't have the leadership or the execution skills that are required to get from point A to point B. Hoteps and broke-teps are masters at criticizing and wagging their fingers, and their mastery of criticism and Chihuahua barking keeps them stuck in a form of neutral powerlessness, which is the foundation of their lack of progress. And neutral powerlessness is where solutions go to die. And this criticizing and Chihuahua barking is very lulling and very seducing in that it mimics empowerment and action without ever really having to take action. And this is very important for women to understand when it comes to vetting men. A good man, ladies, is about action. You know, a good man is not going to tell you what he's going to do. A man of integrity is going to show you what he's going to do. The actions of a man, ladies, tells you the truth of who he is. And in hypergamy, a man who doesn't take action to build a foundation for his life and his possible future offspring is a man that will con you into wasting your own time. Because hoteps, when the dust is clear, are men who don't have a plan. And a man who doesn't have a plan will always take you to a dead end. And I've noticed an uptick in the comments section, right, from the remaining Hotep relics that still exist on YouTube. So let me address it. Ladies, do not be a fool for the con or the fake promise of delusion. Never date a man who doesn't know how to problem solve. Never date a man who blames everyone and everything outside of himself for his own failures. Never date or marry a man who has more excuses than hashtag goals. And more importantly, never date a man who has a built in expectation for you to build with him at the expense of your femininity. Because when a woman sacrifices her femininity, she will be dried up and angry and bitter and hateful and resentful. And the first move that a hotep will make after a woman is a barefoot, impregnant shell of herself is to abandon her. Now, the Shea Butter speech is basically when a person speaks in generalities of what sounds good and what sounds appealing about black people coming together and unifying and having a common enemy. But the problem with the Shea Butter speech is that the Shea Butter speech doesn't address the nuances of blackness like class and culture and education and colorism and intelligence and trauma and abuse and neglect and dysfunction. And in the end, the Shea Butter speech lacks ding, ding, ding solutions. Again, ladies, solutions and leadership are the remedy to problems. But with a hotep, For every solution, there will always be a problem. And for masculine men, solutions should always start with the fundamentals of taking care of home. But Hoteps and Broke-Teps will always focus on the distraction of oppression instead of taking care of their masculinity and taking care of home. Now, many of you are wondering, well, what does this have to do with hypergamy? And I'm glad that you asked, right? It is very important that the listeners and the ear hustlers of this channel understand that you will encounter many obstacles when it comes to feminine self improvement. Because when it comes to Black women and femininity, there are way too many people out there who are invested and committed to seeing Black women fail and fail hard. And there are way too many people who are committed to seeing Black women remain a statistic and are committed to seeing Black women remain as undesirable as possible and are committed to seeing Black women remain a part of the status quo. And Black women need to understand that exploitation serves a purpose, and that the purpose of exploitation is for you to lose and for you to be on the losing end. And one of the main obstacles in feminine self improvement is people who are prone to discourage others, and people who are prone to throw a monkey wrench on individual progress, and people who are prone to hurl insults and get uncomfortable when self improvement is happening, and people who are prone to chop your tree down, and people who are afraid of getting left behind. And Broke-Tep and Hotep speak will be one of those encounters. Many Black women have been lulled and seduced by talkers and by the inaction of fraudulent men and men who are posers. And many women have waited on men and have put their trust in men who at first glance appear to be masculine, right? But 99% of Hotep men are Decepticons, because when the smoke is clear, most women who end up with Hotep men are in the same spot that they met that man in. And when the dust settles, a lot of women find themselves chewing on cinnamon sticks, trying to figure out how they're going to provide for themselves and their 11 children, all because their ashy Hotep Dusty conned them into believing that they had a plan, when in actuality, they were just angry, powerless men. So that's all I have to say on this for now. Hotepery has definitely lost its appeal with women as an alternative lifestyle, right? Because women are waking up and are no longer interested in carrying the burden. Women are realizing that talk is cheap and that life costs money, and that it takes money to be a top shelf vegan, right? And that it takes money to buy organic fruit, and that it takes money to shop at Whole Foods, and that it takes money to buy property in Blackistan, and that it takes a provider for a woman to be able to homeschool, and that being able to respect a man's leadership means being able to trust that a man knows how to execute and get things done. So stay tuned for more videos to come, and I will catch up with you guys in the next one.